Hello and welcome back to the channel, everyone. And if you're new here, hello, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, please like, comment, subscribe, do all those good things. This is Motor Mike Media, and as always, I'm Motor Mike, and today I'm here with my dad's Escort Zx2. It used to be my ZX2. This is the vehicle that I started the channel with. I wanted a cheap, reliable car. And my third best video I ever made so far is about this vehicle and why I hated it, because I was so frustrated with it. But after some hard work and fixing some things, it became a nice daily driver that I sold to my dad so I could buy my truck, and he used as a daily driver. He's thinking about getting rid of this vehicle, and that's why I'm making this video, so we can talk about this Escort one last time. So a quick history about Escorts in general. Starting in 1980s when they first designed the Escort for North America, and over the years they had different generations, and in Europe they had some specialty models that had some crazy horsepower and some cool styling. Now, in the late 90s, they decided, hey, we need to bring back the coupe Escort, because they had coupes, sedans, and wagons. So bringing back the coupe, they call it the ZX2. This vehicle had a bigger engine, a 2-liter engine, making about 130 horsepower, which was quite significant compared to the regular Escorts that were making like 90-ish horsepower. So this thing was supposed to be sporty and edgy, an affordable coupe for the people. And I really like this thing. Look at the front end, talking about styling, you can see that this front end is different, it's unique, it's quirky, if you will. The little snouts in the front end, a lot of people think it resembles a Day Soul, but I think it has its own little personality to it. Now in 2003, the last year for Escort ZX2, there's a more traditional grille. I kind of like that too, but this one's a little bit different and unique. Let's talk about the other styling cues. So quickly talking about some of the styling cues, we've already talked about the front end, but the side profile. Overall, it looks pretty sharp. A nice overall silhouette. The body lines, nothing's too edgy here, just nice and simple things. It's a 90s design, if you will, but I like the wheels. Now these wheels down here, there's a traditional 3-spoke, but it's split off, be a little bit different. They're kind of sporty. I really like those. Now, I like this thing. It's small, it's compact. Nowadays, economy cars, they're kind of bloated and big. When you're inside here, it maximizes the interior space, but the outside still looks kind of sporty. It looks kind of fresh. Now, if I did keep this vehicle for myself, I probably would have tinted the windows, maybe painted those rims, or got a different set of rims. I would have done a whole lot, maybe added a head unit, but this was supposed to be an affordable, cheap car, and it did cost us some money to make it into a reliable vehicle, but I really like this thing. Let's look at the rear end. So looking at the rear end of the ZX2, I like this glass. It's almost a circular pattern sloping down. It's hard to see, but up here it says ZX2. It's real nice and sporty. This little tiny spoiler, some people make fun of this. I really like it. Now, a cool mod you can do is you can go to a junkyard, find a Cavalier that has a nice lip spoiler in the back, and that sticks on real nicely. So just give it a spray paint, stick it on. These taillights, back in the 90s, it was like a design cue to have this LED bar. Well, not really LED, but a bar that looked fancy, futuristic. Nowadays, there are LED bars just like this. So in its time, this was futuristic, but nowadays, it's kind of modern in a way. With the bumper itself, nothing too special here. It says ZX2 down here, but I like the rear end. Overall, it's a cohesive design, obviously of its time, but it does have some things that make it modern nowadays. Let's check out the interior. Going up to the ZX2, I always like this door handle. It's flush with the body. You open it. Now this is a long 2-door coupe. You can see frameless window, which is cool, nice and sporty. It's kind of cheaper materials, but there's a little bit of cushion here where your arm will rest. You got some fabric here. Nice little switches here. Auto windows, which is nice. They work good. Cheap little door handle, but it works good. I know people said sometimes these break. Never had a problem with mine. Storage, you only have this little cubby here, but that's all right. Overall dash. I like how it looks. It looks stylish in my personal opinion. This steering wheel, this is nice and soft. Nice bolstering. When you grab it, it feels sporty. This feels better to me than the Mustang of its era. If I can focus for you guys. Gauge cluster here. Simple stuff here. Over here, you have all your radio and AC functions. Everything works good. It's laid out properly. You can remove that, put a head unit in. This is automatic. I highly recommend you get a stick shift if you do buy one of these. But the dash, like I said, it looks good. This is a soft touch material. Cheap plastic here though. But this is an economy car. Cup holder, little storage here. Overall, I really like this interior. I like these seats. Nice bolstering to hold you in place. They are comfortable for me. Longer rides, you will feel some back pain, no lumbar support. But it's sporty. This is supposed to be a cheap, fun car, good on gas, that's affordable. So under the engine bay of the ZX2, you have this, a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine making about 130 horsepower. Now, some people on the forums and that have owned these vehicles have a love-hate relationship. Now this engine, it's not like it's unreliable. There's just a few things that can go wrong, but if you take the time and you just spend a little bit of money and time, you can fix those things and make this very reliable. There's a tuner community out there that will add power to this engine, they'll modify it, and it makes pretty good numbers. Now people like this body style. They'll rip that engine out and add a K-swap or do a bunch of different things to it to make this a crazy vehicle. You can get body kits to actually customize and personalize this vehicle. So there's a lot of things you can do. Now, I bought this on the cheap to be a reliable car. There was some problems. When I first got it, it had a horrible, horrible shake. Now, talking to ZX2 owners and looking at forums, a lot of the automatic ones seem to have the shaking problems. The manuals, not so much, or if there is a shaking problem, it's quite minimal. This was shaking horribly when we first got it. I take that back. The first 2 weeks, it wasn't bad at all. After that, then it was shaking horribly. But we've done quite a few things under the bay and overall to fix this up. I made a small list for you guys. Obviously, the brakes. I had to get new rotors, new front calipers, front pads, because those were just shot. So doing that, I could finally stop. Now, I also had to change the battery out. The battery is getting old, but the engine was shaking, so what would we do? Well, we changed the PCV valve twice, the hoses for that twice, an IAC valve, fixed that. We cleaned out the mass airflow sensor, then had to replace it later on. There's also the serpentine belt, had to replace that. The idler pulleys, had to replace that as well. Valve cover gasket, had to replace that. It was leaking very, very badly. After all that stuff, it started running quite good. That crazy shaking vibration went away. Now when you start the vehicle up and you're sitting there at idle, there's a little bit of vibration. Now when it does get colder, it does shake a little bit more, but it's not as bad as it once was. A lot of people say you go with the manual transmission, the shaking's not bad or not there at all. Some people say that the torque converter for the automatics can cause the shaking, motor mounts, stuff like that. These motor mounts have been replaced. You can look at them now. They're in good shape. So it's just a light vibration, but my dad still wants to replace this vehicle because he put a lot of money into it over the time that he's had it, I've had it, and he likes it, but he wants something a little bit bigger, a little bit more comfortable. It's a little too low for him, and he's worried about, in a year or two, is he going to have to dump more money into this? I think this would be a great car for someone's first car, someone just to get to school and back, or someone to get from point A to point B like work. So we'll see what happens. This might be the last video, like I said, but I really like this thing, so let's take it for one last drive. Alright, so let's start up the ZX2. And right now, not bad. There's just a small vibration. It's nothing bad. Before, the steering wheel would shake really, really bad. The little plastic piece actually snapped off. I'm pretty sure the previous owner glued it back on. That's why it popped off so easily. But the shaking's not as bad as it once was. And I'm sitting here comfortably. Now I'm about 5'11". I have head space, good shoulder space. My arm fits great in the door. I can roll the window down and sit on top of the sill, which you can't do on a lot of modern cars. But I like the layout of the dash, so let's go for that drive. So driving the ZX2, it's kind of an emotional experience, to be honest, because this is what started my channel, like I said, and it was a great car for me for a while there, and a good car for my dad. But it's kind of fun to drive this thing. It's very low to the ground, so I understand why you want to get in and out of this car. When you're sitting here, it's comfortable. You can tell that this body, I'm going back and forth right now, but it handles well. You can tell that this platform overall could handle more power. Like I said, if you do that the manual, you could be zipping around some corners, but the automatic's okay, it's totally fine. Sitting here at a stoplight, like I said, just a little bit of vibration. You can see the steering wheel just doing a tiny little bit of a shake. Not very bad though. Before it was real bad. But the second you start moving, the engine smooths out. It's nice and smooth. Overall, it's a good driving experience. The overall driving, it's a little firm, but still quite comfortable. I really like this thing. Taking this corner with some speed. And like I said, it's an automatic 4-cylinder, but it's peppy. It wants to zip around, and I like the way the dash looks. Overall, I'm gonna miss this thing. But I understand, my dad wants to get something that's a little bit bigger, not as low to the ground, a little bit more comfortable. But man, if this was a manual, I might buy it back. But it's an automatic, and he wants to sell it, he needs the money, so I understand. But man, getting back behind the wheel, it's a good experience. I can see why people love this thing. The steering wheel feels good in my hands. Now, if you're someone that loves this thing and modifies it, this could be your baby. A cheap car you can buy and just modify it, have fun with, learn how to work on a vehicle. That's kind of what I did when I first bought it. Well, what's this do? How do I fix this? And I also can remember, now that I'm driving, we had to replace the tie rods because those were awful. But I can let go of the steering wheel. I'm driving nice and straight. It's comfortable, and I really will miss this thing. Well, that's the ZX2. Like I said, I'm going to miss this vehicle. This is a great car for someone's first car to get back to school, to get their first job and go to work. But like I said, there's an aftermarket community for these things. People take these things and they modify it, add more power, swap the engine, add body kits. If you're into that, that's awesome. Do that up, because these things, they're not going to be around forever. They're a dying breed. These things have been just used up because they're just a cheap economy car. So if you find one in good shape, snatch it up. Do a few things under the hood, make it reliable, and have fun with it. Well, that's all I have for you today. I thank you all for watching. And if you haven't already and you want to, please check out my channel. I keep trying to give you guys more and more content as well as cars, trucks, crossovers, and SUVs. Combustion engines, just like this. And EVs, a little of everything. But please, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you guys can stay up to date with the latest and greatest from my channel. And as always, I truly, truly appreciate you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.